Hello, this is a short training video on how to use RoboReception LeadTracker. So this is your lead tracker, and each of these columns are a step in your patient journey. And the goal is to move those cards from the left-hand column of new inquiries all the way across to treatment started. All of your leads will come into this board automatically from Facebook campaigns, from website contact forums, from chatbots. The only ones that you at the practice need to add are walk-ins and inbound phone calls that you speak to, and that's purely because we don't know who those people are. So to do that, you'd click the Add Card button and then fill in the boxes, and I'll run through that with you shortly. Each of these cards, these squares, have a due date. So when do you next need to be actioning this inquiry? So if the due date's in the future, that card will be white, and on the due date it will turn green, so you'll know you need to do something with that inquiry. If after 24 hours you've not updated it, it's going to turn amber, and after 48 hours it will turn red. So you'll be able to see straight away who needs actioning and who you don't need to worry about, because they're going to let you know when that card needs to be actioned. You can filter the view by checking up here, and you can see just those that are overdue or those that are due today. You can also use a search function, so if you're trying to find a specific, you can type in the name there and then find that person. So if we open up one of these cards, you can see in the top right hand corner, this is the information that we've gathered from the inquiry. So it might be that this is a chatbot inquiry, but likewise if it's a website contact form, it's going to put the details that you'd normally get in the top right hand corner, and then the system will pull out the relevant contact information down here. So hopefully you can give this lead a call and hopefully get them booked in. In the same way that you do with clinical notes, you need to write a note about everything that you've done with this inquiry. So if you've tried to call them and left a voicemail, or you've spoken to them and they've told you the reasons that they're looking for this treatment or any historical and social information, you want to record that in the notes section. So to do that, you would click notes and add, and then write a note about whatever it is that you've had a conversation with them or whether you've just left them a voicemail. And then you can press save, and you'll see here that it says that I've added it and my note. So you can be building up this activity feed, this history of everything that's happened with that patient. Now you might choose to send this patient an email or an SMS if you've tried to call them and not got through to them, or you may have spoken to them and said you'd share some information with them. So as long as there's an email address or a phone number over here, you can email or SMS that patient. So to send an email, you would click email, then send an email. Now you can either just free type an email in here, attach something and then press send, or if your practice has set up some templates, then you can click the template, choose which one you wanted to use. That will populate these fields and then you can edit them. So if you want to say, you'll call it a different time or whatever that template is, you can just personalize it for that patient, and then you can press send and that will then go off to that patient as well. As I said, if you want to just free type one because it's a specific inquiry, then you can absolutely just free type in there, no problem at all. You can also send an SMS. So again, as long as there's a phone number over here, you can send an SMS. And that will go back through to that patient so that they can then reply. Now, if a patient replies to an email or an SMS, that's going to go directly onto their inquiry card as well. So you'll know that that patient has responded to an email or an SMS because the card's going to turn green because you want to action it straight away. But also you'll either get an envelope or a little telephone with a number 1 on it. So you'll see that there's an email over there that's waiting to be read. You can also just view replies, and that will filter out anybody who's sent you a message, so you can look at it that way as well if you wish to. Now going back to this lead, if we've sent them an email but we know that they're interested in a specific treatment, we might choose to then select to send them an automated message flow. So these message flows are a series of emails and SMSs that somebody at your practice would have already personalised for you, and it means that that patient will get regular communication from you about potentially the treatment that they're interested in. It doesn't mean that you don't need to call them, but it does mean that they're going to get that regular communication, and potentially if you've included booking links in there, they're going to be able to book directly in. So it's another way of automatically, really efficiently keeping in touch with that patient. You don't need to worry about it. It just ticks away in the background and happens automatically. So to do that, if for example we've spoken to this patient and we know they're interested in bonding, you can select the relevant one and then click the activate button. And that's all you need to do. That will then drip feed through to that patient and allow you then to focus on the other patients until you need to then call this patient back. So if in this case I have spoken to this patient or tried to speak to this patient but wasn't able to get through, and my rules at my practice are that I would try again the next day to call them. So you'd need to update your card a little bit. Now to see some more details you can click the edit card button. And you can go in and you can edit any of these things here. So if you want to change the title, you can, absolutely. If you want to add more to the description, you can do. You can also change the source. So when I was speaking about adding your walk-ins or inbound phone calls, this is where you can add in how that patient heard about you. How did they get in touch with you? So pick the one that's most relevant to you or that patient, and that will then record it in there for you. Now you can choose a clinician if you want to. Some practices like to add a clinician, others just leave that one blank, completely up to you again. And then you need to select what treatment that patient is interested in. So select that one. And then you can choose the value associated with this lead. So how much do we think this patient could potentially be worth to us? Some practices will add a nominal value. So for example, Invisalign, they would say it's always 4,000. Others wait until it's treatment planned and put the value in there, or go in and update it. And that's our recommendation, is that you have a nominal fee for any of the treatment types you offer. And then once you've treatment planned, you can go in and update that. So I'm going to say that my nominal fee here for composite bonding is £500. Now, here is the most important thing that you need to update, and that's the due date. So when do you next need to follow up this patient? When do you next need the card to turn green to prompt you to do something with that inquiry? So I know at my practice, my rule is that I would call them again the next working day. So I'm going to change that to Monday. And then I'm going to change this patient journey step. So where in the patient journey do we want them to move to? I'm going to move them to patient contacted 1 because I've attempted to contact them 1. But if I booked an appointment for them or a consultation, I'd click the consultation booked and put the date of the consult. So it's very dependent on that conversation or potential conversation with that patient. So select the relevant one and then press save, and you will then see that when you look at your board again, Sarah's moved over to patient contacted 1 and the card's turned white, so you can see exactly when she's next due an action. Now, if you want to archive a card, so you say that this patient has potentially contacted you again and said, actually, no, I'm not interested now, I've booked somewhere else, you obviously would then write some notes. So going to alternative practice, whatever the note might be, press save, and then you want to move this card to archive. So you again click edit card and change it to archive. And when you do move a card to archive, you're presented with this box and it's going to ask you why you're archiving that card, and that feeds through to reporting. So it's really important to share this information, and we're going to say that select the relevant one. In this case, I'm going to say it's too expensive, and then that card's going to move over to your archive column. Now you can click and drag cards, move them around if you want to. Update them using these 3 dots here, so you can change the due date again, you can click the move card button. So there are other options, but I would highly recommend that you always use the edit card button and go in and always make a note as why you've done something. So rather than just moving the card from one column to the next, always add a note to say why you've moved it. So you've spoken to them and they've asked you to call them again in another week, or you've left a voicemail, whatever it might be. Always make sure you add that note so it's really clear for the team at the practice. Everybody can view this, so you can always know exactly what's happened with that lead. I really hope that helps. As always, if you've got any questions, please feel free to reach out to the team. We're always happy to help. We can always jump on a call with you and share screens and go through things with you.